The room went quiet. Champagne glasses stopped clinking mid-air. 200 people packed into a gallery space in Tribeca, and every single one of them was looking at the stage, at him. Julian stood under the lights in a navy blazer he definitely didn't buy off a clearance rack anymore. He was holding a book. My book. He just didn't know that yet. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, from waiting. I had been waiting 3 years for this exact moment. He cleared his throat. He gave the crowd that smile, the one that used to make me feel like the luckiest woman in Brooklyn. Then he opened to the page his editor had flagged for him, page 212. He had no idea what was written there. He hadn't read the whole book before tonight. He never did. By the third sentence, his voice started to shake. By the fifth, his knuckles went white on the podium, because the man standing on that stage was reading his own confession out loud to every journalist, every editor, every old friend in that room. And nobody there knew it yet, except me. But to really understand how we got to that stage in that gallery on that night, we have to go back 3 years and 1 stolen manuscript. Mrs. Stark here, and today I want to tell you about a woman I'm going to call Nora Hale. She let a man take everything she'd ever made, and then, very quietly, she gave him exactly what he had coming, 1 page at a time. She told me the story in her own words, so for the next few minutes, I'm going to let her tell it.
My name is Nora Hale. 3 years ago, I thought I'd found my person. I met Julian at a workshop in Bushwick. One of those cheap ones, $20 a session, held in the back room of a coffee shop that's a vape store now. He read a short story about his dad. It wasn't very good, but he was funny about it afterward, self-deprecating. And he bought me a coffee, and that was that. We got an apartment together on Throop Avenue. 4th floor walk up, no elevator, radiator that clanked all winter like it was trying to say something. Rent split down the middle. I worked mornings at a bookstore in Cobble Hill. He worked nowhere because he was focusing on his writing. I want to be fair to him here because that's important to me. Julian wasn't cruel at the start. He was insecure. There's a difference, even if it doesn't always feel like one from the inside. He'd applied to 3 MFA programs and gotten rejected by all 3. He'd send stories to magazines and get form rejections, the kind that don't even have your name on them. And every time, something in him got a little smaller, a little more bitter. Meanwhile, I was writing a novel at night after closing the store. Nothing fancy, just me, a laptop that overheated, and a lot of instant coffee. It took me 2 years. It was about a woman who leaves her hometown in Ohio and has to figure out who she is without anybody telling her. Julian read the first few chapters one night in bed. He got quiet, really quiet. "This is better than anything I've written," he said. I remember laughing it off. I told him that wasn't true. He didn't laugh back. Looking back, that was the night it started. Not with him stealing anything, with him deciding, somewhere in his head, that my success and his failure couldn't both exist in that apartment. Over the next few months, it got small. That's the thing nobody tells you about this kind of betrayal. It doesn't come in one big moment. It comes in inches. He started helping with revisions. Then he started saying "we" when he talked about the book. We're almost done with the second act. I hadn't asked for a co-writer, but he'd bring me tea while I worked, and he'd tell me how proud he was of us, and it felt mean to correct him, petty even, so I let it slide. Then he told me he had a contact, an old MFA classmate who'd become an assistant at a literary agency. He said it would look better, strategically, if the submission came from him, said his name already had some presence from his magazine rejections, which, if you think about it for 2 seconds, makes no sense. But I was tired. I was in love, and I trusted him. 2 months later, he told me he'd sold it, my book, under his name only. I remember standing in the kitchen holding a mug of coffee that had gone cold in my hands. I asked him what he meant under his name. He said it was simpler, cleaner for the agent, said we'd figure out the money together, said if I really loved him, I'd understand that this was his one shot and mine would come later, and did I really want to be the girlfriend who made his big break about herself. 2 months later, he told me he'd sold it, my book, under his name only. I remember standing in the kitchen holding a mug of coffee that had gone cold in my hands. I asked him what he meant under his name. He said it was simpler, cleaner for the agent, said we'd figure out the money together, said if I really loved him, I'd understand that this was his one shot and mine would come later, and did I really want to be the girlfriend who made his big break about herself. I didn't fight him. I wish I could tell you I did. I just went quiet, and quiet with Julian always meant yes. 8 months after that, the book came out, his name on the cover, my sentences inside. And 2 weeks after it hit shelves, 2 weeks, he sat me down on our second-hand couch and told me he was leaving. He said I wasn't his standard anymore. That's the exact phrase he used, like I was an old draft he was revising out of his life. I sat there on that couch for a long time after he left, just listening to the radiator clank.
Julian's book took off in a way none of us expected. Not even him, I think. It hit the New York Times list in its 3rd week. He did a profile, a real magazine, the kind that photographs its subjects in black and white and asks them what they eat for breakfast. He talked about his process. He talked about digging deep into personal pain to find authentic voice. I read that piece standing in a Trader Joe's parking lot in Ohio in the freezing cold because I'd moved back in with my mom by then and couldn't afford data at home anymore. I want to tell you I hated him in some big dramatic way. Mostly, I just felt hollow, like someone had reached into my chest and taken something out, and I couldn't even prove it had ever been there. He moved to a loft in Tribeca, started dating a woman who did publicity for fashion brands, got invited to galas where they don't put the price on the invitation because if you have to ask, it's not for you. Meanwhile, I worked register at a Marshall's outside Columbus. I didn't write a word for over a year, not one. Every time I opened a blank document, I heard his voice. This is better than anything I've written. Like he'd known, even then, exactly what he was about to take. My mom got me into therapy that spring. I want to say that plainly, because it matters. A woman named Dr. Osei, who had an office above a nail salon and a box of tissues that was somehow always half empty before I even sat down. She didn't tell me to forgive him. She told me something simpler. She said, "You still have the thing that made that book good. He only ever had the outside of it." I didn't believe her for a long time. Back in New York, Julian had a different problem. His publisher, a house called Bellhaven Books, wanted book 2. They'd paid him a big advance based on how the first one sold, and now there was a deadline with his name on it, and Julian couldn't write. Not wouldn't, couldn't. Because it turns out, when you've never actually built a house, you don't know how to build a second one. He tried writing retreats upstate. He tried a $400 leather notebook. He hired a creativity coach who had him do morning pages about his childhood. Nothing came out. Or worse, things came out and they were bad, flat, empty. His editor, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Patricia Vance, read 40 pages of his draft and told him gently but clearly that it wasn't there yet. He had 11 months left on his deadline and a mortgage on the Tribeca loft that his publicity girlfriend expected him to keep paying, and a public image built entirely on a book he never wrote. So, Julian did something a lot of people in publishing do quietly and nobody talks about. He hired a ghostwriter. Not through some shady back channel, through a real legitimate agency called Quiet Pages Literary Services, the kind of place authors use when they need a book doctor or someone to help finish a memoir, all under strict non-disclosure agreements, completely anonymous on both sides. The client never knows the writer's name, the writer never knows the writer's. Julian thought that made him safe. Back in Ohio, I'd started writing again. Small things at first. A short story here, a personal essay there. Dr. Osei kept saying my voice was still mine, and slowly I started to believe her a little. I needed money too, so I put together a portfolio and applied to a few freelance writing services. Quiet Pages was one of them. They paid well, and they were professional, and best of all, nobody would know it was me. After everything, that felt safe. I didn't want my name near anything for a while. 3 months in, my handler at the agency called with a new assignment. High-profile literary client, she said, needs a full manuscript, second novel, similar tone to his debut. Client wants it to feel personal, raw. Raw. That word again. They sent over the client's notes. No name, that's how it works. Just a document of preferences, tone, things he wanted included. And about 4 pages in, my stomach dropped. There was a line about a walk-up apartment in Bushwick with a radiator that never worked right. There was a note that said, quote, something about a woman rebuilding herself after leaving somewhere small. That theme worked before. Lean into it again. I sat with my laptop for a long time that night. I want to be honest with you, my first instinct was to call the agency and say I couldn't take the job, just walk away. But then I thought about that couch and the radiator and you're not my standard anymore. And I thought, for the first time in almost 2 years, I thought, no, I'm not walking away from this one. I took the assignment. I wrote for 4 months straight. It was the best writing I have ever done in my life, and I mean that completely. I wrote a novel about a struggling writer named Daniel who steals a manuscript from the woman he loves, builds an entire life on it, and slowly, page by page, starts to unravel from the guilt he never lets himself name out loud. Every scene that mattered, I lifted straight from real life, the tea he used to bring me while quietly taking my sentences as his own, the exact words he used the night he ended things, small details nobody else on earth would recognize, a green ceramic mug we bought at a flea market on Bedford Avenue that he still, according to his notes to the agency, apparently kept on his desk. To anyone reading it, it would look like literary fiction, sharp, aching, well-observed. To Julian, if he ever actually read it, it would read like a mirror. I called it the understudy. I delivered it through the agency, got paid, never signed my real name to a single page. 6 weeks later, my handler forwarded me a note from the client's editor. It said the manuscript was, quote, his most honest work yet. She had no idea how right she was. Which brings us back to that gallery in Tribeca. I flew to New York for the launch. Not invited. I wasn't anybody officially. I just bought a ticket to the public signing portion and stood in the back, in a coat I hadn't worn since I lived there, hood up, heart pounding. Julian arrived looking exactly like the man from the magazine profile, confident, practiced. His assistant had highlighted 3 passages for him to read aloud because, and I found this out later, he still hadn't read the full manuscript cover to cover. He never did, not with the first book and not with this one. He opened to page 212. That was the confession scene. Daniel, alone in his loft, finally admitting out loud, to no one, to the empty apartment, exactly what he'd taken from the woman he used to love, and exactly what he'd said to her the night he left her. Word for word, nearly, what Julian had said to me on that second-hand couch. He got 2 paragraphs in before his voice started to shake. I watched it happen from the back of the room, his hand gripping the podium, his eyes moving faster down the page, like he was trying to read ahead and brace for what was coming, and finding there was nowhere to land. He stopped completely at the mug, the green ceramic mug from Bedford Avenue, described in loving, specific detail, sitting on Daniel's desk in the scene. The room started to notice something was wrong before they understood why. A few people exchanged glances. Patricia Vance, sitting in the front row, leaned forward slightly, her editor's instincts picking up on something the rest of the room couldn't name yet. Julian tried to keep reading. His voice cracked halfway through a sentence. He made a joke that landed in total silence. Someone near the front quietly took a photo of his face, pale, sweating slightly under the gallery lights. He didn't finish the passage. He closed the book, said something about being overcome with emotion, it's a personal book, and the applause that followed was polite, uncertain. The kind of applause that's really just people not knowing what else to do with their hands. I stood in the back of that room and felt something I hadn't in 3 years. Not joy exactly, just quiet, like a held breath finally let out. That photo of Julian's face went up on social media within the hour, posted by someone who'd been standing near the stage. The caption just said something like, "Does anyone know what happened to him mid-reading tonight?" By warning, it had thousands of shares. People in the Brooklyn writing scene, people who'd always quietly wondered about Julian, who remembered him from workshops years earlier, and remembered a girlfriend who used to write, started talking. Within a week, a young book journalist who covers the publishing industry got a tip and started digging. She found the paper trail, a records request, a leaked invoice, the kind of thing that comes out eventually when enough people start asking questions at once. It confirmed Julian's second book had been ghostwritten through Quiet Pages literary services. I made a decision then. Nobody forced my hand. I could have stayed anonymous forever, the agency would have protected that, but I was done hiding behind someone else's name, so I gave one interview, calm, on my own terms, no theatrics. I told the truth about both books, mine and his. Belhaven Books called me herself 2 days later. She apologized, and I believed she meant it. Belhaven Books quietly ended their contract with Julian within the month. His agent dropped him not long after. The award nomination his first book had picked up got quietly withdrawn from consideration. I heard he's teaching a community writing class in New Jersey now. I don't feel much about that either. That's Dr. Osei's influence, I think. She always said the goal wasn't to hate him forever, just to stop needing him to feel something. As for me, Belhaven offered me my own contract, my real name on my own book, the original novel Julian took finally coming out the way it was supposed to, plus a new one after that. Last month, I did a reading at a bookstore called Books Are Magic in Cobble Hill. Small crowd, maybe 40 people, folding chairs, a cup of bodega coffee going cold next to me on the table. Nothing like that gallery in Tribeca. No champagne, no black and white photographer. It was better. Every word in that book was mine, and everyone in that room knew it. Mrs. Stark here again. I love this story because nobody had to throw a punch. Nobody had to scream in a parking lot. Nora didn't get her power back by yelling louder than Julian. She got it back by simply telling the truth one careful page at a time and letting him read it out loud himself. That's the kind of karma that actually sticks. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone try to take credit for something that was really yours? Your work, your idea, your story? And how did you get your name back on it? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.